Hey, yo, Eeze.
This question I want to get into, right? Because I know, like, I don't know your background, but just listening to your work, like, you're very musical. Like, what shaped your choices and preferences in music? Like, what led you to this place?
Oh man, so for that, a lot of things, growing up in the era I grew up in, for me, being an 80s baby, born in the 80s, raised throughout the 80s and 90s, growing up on the greats, growing up on great music, great lyricism, classic after classic. Like, people dropping classics was the norm. It was like water, one day, Into the Woo was coming out the same day as Midnight Marauders, the same day, and then next thing Illmatic is coming out, and then Ready to Die, and then Only Built for Cuban Links and Liquid Swords, and it's just on and on. You know what I mean? The Infamous and Reasonable Doubt, and that was the norm. It was like all of these records is 5-star records and stand the test of time forever records, and they always coming out every week. So that growing up a jazz head without knowing it, I was a jazz head before I knew it.
Yeah.
Because in my house, my pops played a lot of jazz. And I was like, in the beginning, I was a little kid, right? Like 11, 12. At this point, I'm already rhyming. I started rhyming when I was 9. So I'm like 11, 12 years old. I'm already, I got rhymes galore. You know what I mean? And my pops is playing this jazz, and I'm just like, man, this music is stupid. I don't want to hear this. I remember I used to say that to him at like 13 years old. Man, I don't want to hear this music. It's stupid. It don't even got no words on it. And he would always be like, man, one day this stupid music is gonna make sense to you, And but he would play more new jazz like Dave Kaz and Najee and stuff like that, which was great.
Like a CD 101.9, like that type
100%. Look at you from the city, 100%. Absolutely.
No doubt,
absolutely. We would go back and forth between Hot 97 and CD 101.9. We would go back and forth. Yo, stop touching the radio. Like, I would just keep changing it. You know what I mean? And but I became more of a traditional jazz guy. Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter, Horace Silver, John Coltrane, Stanley Turrentine, modern jazz quartet, MJQs. I became that guy. But the seeds were planted from jazz being in my house, as well as all the soul stuff that, if you raised in a black family, it's Motown, it's Stax Records, it's, all of that. You know what I mean? So, it was a nice pot of all that put together.
No doubt. So do you think like your jazz, the enjoyment of jazz, it'll lead to you kind of going the avenue of deciding to make like conceptual or thematic albums? Because I noticed like even from Theo versus JJ all the way up to the current project, The Mind of a Saint, most MCs don't really take that lane. Like, you're always telling a story. Like, why did you gravitate towards that?
That came from the people I grew up listening to. That came from Biggie, that came from Nas, that came from Jay, that came from The Genius. It was the night before New Year's, and all through the fucking projects, not a handgun was silent, not even a tech. Outsiders were struck by enemies who put fear and blasted in the spot before the pigs was there. Like, that came from those guys. You know what I mean? Hearing that stuff as a kid made me be like, okay, this is where I need to go. I mean, the record that made me want to start rapping was Chi Ali, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. There's 3 different stories on that record. Each verse is a different story because it's 3 different girls. Downtown the village, I see this fly cutie, crazy thick, freshly dipped with the fat doobie. I didn't waste time to kick my game. I stepped to her, I showed no shame. I said, how you doing? My name is Chi Ali. She said, yeah, you're the one from TV. Like, story, you know what I mean? So, like, the record that made me want to rap was a story. So it was, gates flooded from there. You know what I mean?
That's fire, man. Like, I can tell that you like a student of the game, an avid fan of the music. So, like, 100%. Even with the current project, right? I know that if anyone peeped the Skyzoo interview, you are an avid Wire fan.
Yep.
The Mind of a Saint. Why Snowfall?
I'm a huge Snowfall fan as well. The way that came about. So I got a homie, my man Kerry, man. He's been getting so much love, whether like love and attention. Let me say attention. Whether he wanted it or not. I told him it was gonna be that. He was like, nah, it's cool. I'm totally cool with it. My man Kerry is he's an exec for the Portland Trailblazers, of all places. He's like a high up exec at the Trailblazers. And but he's one of us. He's a hip hop head, born and raised in it, look like me and you. And you know, that's my guy, you know, from Portland and all that. And that's my man. So he would always hit me. He says one of his top 3 Skyzoo projects is Theo vs. JJ. The thing about my catalog, everybody has their favorites. I don't have a catalog where it's one standout favorite and everything else falls along the way. And that's when you have a real catalog. And not a lot of people can say that. Where everybody's favorite album is a different album, that's when your catalog is for real. You know, it's like a restaurant where somebody says, you got to go to this restaurant, you got to get to so-and-so, it's amazing. As opposed to, you got to go to this restaurant, you can get anything on the menu, it's all amazing. That's my restaurant.
That's fire. That's a great analogy.
Difference. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
A lot of our favorite rappers, they got that one joint. Yo, that album, yeah, that's the one. All praise due to it. That's the one. And then everything else, yeah, that one is dope. Nah, that one's cool. Man, that one was kind of whack. Well, my catalog is, yo, Retropolitan. Nah, The Easy Truth. Nah, Live from the Tape Deck. Nah, Celebration of Us. Nah, you know, All the Brilliant Things. Nah, music.
Milestones.
Milestone. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a catalog, and that's a bulletproof catalog. You know what I mean? That's a Teflon catalog. So I say all that to say, going back to the question, one of Kerry's top 3 projects of mine is Theo vs. JJ in his eyes. So he's like, yo, man, you got to do another one. This time you should do Avon vs. Franklin. And I was like, man, that's so off the wall. Like, you know what I mean? So we kind of was messing with each other and we was joking with each other back and forth. And I started kind of joking with him. I was like, man, that's so off the wall, bro. I was like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. So I'm laughing about it or whatever. And he kept asking me over and over. He would text me, yo, you know you got to do Avon vs. Franklin, right? You know you got to do Avon vs. Franklin. I'm like, bro, I'm not doing that. Like, that's just, it don't even make sense. Like, I'm like, creatively, it's so off the wall. One dude's in the 80s with coke. The other dude's in the 2000s with dope. I was like, nah, man, I'm not doing that. But the last time he said it, like the 5th time, I said, man, you know what? You might be onto something. I'm not going to do Avon vs. Franklin, but you might be onto something. I was like, I think I'm going to take this Franklin element and do something special with it. And that's how it happened, man. So it was my man Kerry fault. I've been giving him all the light, all the love. People have been blowing his page up. Like, yo, thank you for putting the bug in Skyzoo ear. You know what I mean? Like, and he's the executive. He's a vice president of a basketball team. You know what I mean? He run around with Dame Lillard every day. You know what I mean? And
that's fine.
You know, he put that in me. You know what I mean? He was like, yo, yeah. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna flip it and bounce it, as we say. You know what I mean? And here we are. You know, that's
what makes you, right? Like someone sparks an idea and you go your own lane. Man.
Absolutely,
that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. He definitely lit the fuse. He was the match and lit the fuse.
Shout out to Kerry, man. But I have a question regarding the Mind of a Saint, right? A project like that, obviously, we know you're a prolific writer, hands down. How do you begin with the production? First of all, how do you decide who you want to work with? Like early on, did you know you wanted to work with one producer or a set of producers? Did you start out taking beats from an array of different producers? Like, how do you begin that process if you're going to do like a conceptual album?
Well, for this one, I had already agreed to do an album with the other guys who were the producers who did this album. Mm-hmm. I'd already agreed to do an album with them before the concept even came. Mm. So I was like, all right, when me and Joe from the other guys, when we decided to do a project together, it was like, yo, we're going to do a Skyzoo album fully produced by the other guys. But I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't want to do another solo album type follow-up, right? Like a Skyzoo solo album, which is like All the Brilliant Things and, you know, and Celebration of Us and Music for My Friends. I don't like doing those back to back because those are solo albums where I'm just talking about my life. I'm talking about things going on. There's a concept behind them that springboards from my life, whether it's gentrification, the plight of Black people, adolescence, you know, all these different things that each album has done, you know, individually. I got to live life first. I can't just do that and then tomorrow do it again. If I just made records about going to the club like everybody else, then yeah. If I just made records about clapping off, then yeah, I could do that. But that's not what I do. So I got to live life first before I can write about living life. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't enough time between All the Brilliant Things and right now. It wasn't enough time. And I said, well, what am I gonna do for this album? And that's when me and Kerry was talking, the idea came. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this for this album. And I told Joe and Isaiah, the other guys, and they was like, hell yeah, that's crazy. Like, let's do it. You know, they had to be into the concept as well. And they was like, hell yeah, let's do that. You know, that's nuts. Let's do it. So that part was locked in. And then sonically, I like telling this part of the story because it's so important as far as like the way you kind of got to think and see things to make the music a certain way. I said, okay, when we do this album, there's a lot of things we can't do. We can't make an 80s sounding album from a production standpoint because it would have been corny. Like, who in 2023 want to hear somebody rhyme a whole hour long or whatever, a whole album with beats that sound like they was made in 84? Like, you know, it's 2023. That stuff is classic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We celebrating 50 years of hip hop. It's classic. It's no disrespect. But in 2023, you don't want to hear that. So the message and the lyrics and, everything I did with it would have got lost. People would listen to it one time and be like, oh, no doubt. Yeah, it was good. It was good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it would have, no matter how dope the lyricism was, it would have got lost in the fact that I really took you to 1986 sonically.
How involved are you in the production? Like, do you get in there?
Oh, hands on.
You go record digging, like you bring samples to them as well. Like, oh, I don't like those samples. Drums. Yeah.
There's times where I'm picking drums, straight drop. I helped build that start to finish. Like, when we did it, Joe was like, yo, you really did this beat. You know what I mean? Like, wow. He was like, I should have put you down as the producer. You really did this beat. It was like, yo, but I didn't do it because I don't know how to work all that. And Joe's a magician. You know what I mean? Like, he's a magician. So I don't want no credit for that. Nah, bro, you did that, But he's like, nah, but you found the sample. You picked the drums. You picked the parts you wanted to loop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, and that just comes from my musicianship, like we talked about in the beginning. So I'm super hands-on with the beats, I'm super hands-on sitting there in the studio with them. I'm sitting in the studio with them when they making beats and I'm like, yeah, but let's add this or let's do that or let's do that. It's a collaborative process,
Now, when you're selecting like engineers, right? Because I noticed like a lot of your projects, it has a different sound sonically, right? Like milestones, like the vocals may sound like or feel like they're more upfront. Mm-hmm. Like on this particular project, like it's very clean, but it's dirty at the same time. Like, do you have a go-to engineer or do you switch engineers from project to project?
It's usually my man. It's either my man AJ or my man Captive. AJ is in Atlanta and Captive is in Brooklyn, in New York. They've done the majority of my stuff, not everything. My man Brian did some stuff. My man John Famous did some stuff, of course. Over the years, Illmatic even mixed a couple albums, start to finish. Oh yeah,
fire. Yeah.
Illmatic mixed Live from the Tape Deck. Illmatic mixed The Great Debater, and Illmatic mixed A Dream Deferred.
Oh, that's fire, man! I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yep, my man Focus mixed music for My Friends and Barrel Brothers and Older Reasonable Doubt. So it's a bunch of different people, but lately it's been either AJ or my man Captive. Really, AJ has been the last like 2-3 joints has been my man AJ, and he's a master, man. He's a scientist with it. So all of that approach. It's funny that you broke it down the way you did because that was a part of what he said, like being clean but dirty, like the vocals and the lyrics, of course, being clean. I'm a rapper, so I want everything up front with the vocals, and then the producers want everything up front as far as the beats. You know what I mean? Everybody want the ball in their hand. You know what I mean? Like I want the ball. Yeah. I want the ball. Everybody want the ball. So the engineer has to be the coach and kind of feed everybody at the right moments, or be the point guard and feed everybody at the right moments. So AJ did that, but even sonically, like I was saying too, there were so many things that I knew that we couldn't do. So like I said, one of them was we couldn't make a record that sounded like the 80s production-wise. We couldn't make a record that sounds super LA, because even though it's an LA album, I'm a Brooklyn dude. And I've made a career letting it be known that I'm a Brooklyn dude. All my music, my album covers, my concepts, my slang, my speech, my lingo, I rep that proudly. So how I'm gonna turn around and make an album, hey cuz, like how I'm gonna do that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I can't make a record with a bunch of beats that sound like Quick and Dre and Battle Cat, and I can't do that. You know, it wouldn't make any sense. So that was another thing we had to check off not doing, right? We had a checkbox of things we could not do. Then it was, well, I can't make a record with a bunch of large pro and Pete Rock type beats either.
Because it's Cali.
Right. I'm a New York dude, but I can't make a bunch of records that sound like New York when I'm talking about South Central LA in 85, 86.
Yeah.
That's something else we can't do. So we had to make sure that a lot of times these are the things you have to make sure that you do. This was an album we had to make sure there was things we did not do. It was like a checklist. Okay, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this, you know? And that was the key to it all. And it was a fine line that we had to walk sonically. And we hit that out the park, home run. You know, I think production-wise alone, take the lyrics off, production-wise alone, if you heard these beats and somebody was just rhyming about 2023 on them, they would still make sense and be amazing beats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would be amazing. It would just be like, yo, those beats is crazy. No so doubt. When I'm talking about what I'm talking about is, yo, those beats is crazy, and he's talking about Snowfall. You know what I mean? So there's so many layers to this album, man. It truly is magic. It truly is a 10-star piece, man. It truly is magic, you know, and I know that's some of the stuff you want to get into, so we can get into it. But there's so many things that you catch on the surface, and there's so many nuances about it behind it when you peel the curtains back. And it's like, damn, I didn't see that part. Damn, I didn't see that. Damn, there's more. Like it's loaded.
Yeah, I was recently at your show at the Mercury Lounge, and you stated like how, and I believe this, like even with most of your work, you can never catch everything like within the first listen.
Not at all.
You gotta sit with it, right?
Anybody ever say that, they're lying.
Nah, I feel you on that. Yeah, so like for me, I think I have to go back and actually watch Snowfall, because even some of the references you make, and I'm not catching it. So now it's like I have to marry those two thoughts together. Like, all right, I have to be a fan of both Skyzoo and the show. Then I can really understand the album. I've watched the show before, but the things that you're saying is so in depth, man. It's like you're a different type of writer, man. And I just wanted to know, like, when you go into a project, are you writing prior to hearing the beats, or do you craft the beat, sit down, and then you write? Like, do you reverse engineer the process? Yeah,
everything is to the beat. Everything is to the beat. I don't sit and write and then find the beat later, like ever. Everything is I hear the beat, I sit down, right here, this is my studio, I sit down, I sit there, beat blasting, I got my phone in my hand writing. An hour later, the song is done, you know? And I usually take about an hour and a half to write a song. 16 to take me 20 minutes. Like if it's just a 16 verse, like a feature, that's like 20 minutes. A song is usually about an hour and a half. That's verses, hooks, bridges, everything. You know what I mean?
Now, is that an hour after you've jotted down like notes? Like, I know I want to say this, say that. Like if you...
No, not at all. That's start to finish.
Yo, that's incredible, man.
That's put the ingredients in the bowl, mix it up, pour it in the pot, pour it in the pan, put it in the oven, let it bake, take it out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's incredible, man. So have you ever thought about getting into screenwriting or like screenplays?
Absolutely. I'm already in it. Yep. I'm already in it. That's my next play. Yep. Yeah.
Because the way you write is it feels that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm already. That's my next wave. I've been working on a couple screenplays for years. I got one TV series that I've been working on since 2008 that I've been working on forever. Developing characters, developing storylines, developing ideas and plots, and you know, the series from beginning to end and everything in between. I've been working on this one since like 2008 off and on, you know, and then I got like 10 more after that I have written down that I'm working on and trying to do and different things. So, you know, I'm juggling, man, and God willing, I'll make some announcement one day that one of them got picked up and now I got to do that. You know, hopefully, God willing, that's something that comes, but that is something else that I'm working on.
Now, was that sparked through hip hop, like rhyming, or do you watch a lot of movies as well? We all know you love Spike Lee, but
yeah,
do you watch a lot of movies? Are you an avid movie watcher? Because most people can't make that transition.
Yeah, it's both, but it's really just me being a writer. You know, for me, that is literally why, you know, I call myself Skyzoo the writer, because over anything else, I'm a writer. You know, over any and everything else, man. Like, you know, it's outside of family stuff, outside of being a dad and, you know what I mean, whatever. I'm a writer, you know. Yeah, I own a restaurant. Yep, I own a card company, a trading card company. Yep, I do that. Yep, I got a label. I got a company. I'm a writer. before anything else. You know what I mean? And
fire.
so all that comes from that. All that is because of that, you know?
Mm. Now, previously you mentioned how like the production choices were very deliberate, right? And I noticed that you said you didn't want it to sound like it was from the 80s. But I noticed from this project and even previous projects, you have an affinity for like break beats.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What does that come? Is it just from hip hop, or you just feel as though MC is like a true test? Like if you can't rhyme over a break beat, you truly not that guy. Like what challenges you to put so many break beats on albums?
It's just being raised by hip hop. I think there's a break beat on every single album of mine.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's just being a hip hop head. I would just rhyme the break beat joints all day if I could. You know what I mean? If it didn't seem like, man, that's all he rhyme on is break beat. Nah, I can take them break beats and turn them into something musical and grand and make something so huge out of it, while making sure the core is the hip hop that we know and the foundation of it that we know and love and that we should know and love, which is break beats. You know, that's just me being a hip hop head. You know what I mean? Like the beats that I fall in love with the most be the ones with the I'm like, oh, turn it up. You know what I mean? Like, you already got me. The head nod is there, the pocket is there. Now I'm already in it. Now, as long as you do all the other stuff right, we probably gonna do something, you know?
That's fire. So what about the your choices for like live instrumentation? Because it kind of translates to your live show as well. I noticed that. I don't know who your man name is, but the one that played the horn and trumpet, he seems to be on all your projects, right? Like, that's a conscious decision, right? Like
100%. Every time you hear an album of mine, you're gonna hear live trumpets all over it. 9 times out of 10, it's my man Sean Taylor, and that's me bringing them in. You know, it's not the producer, it's me bringing them in because I'm a jazz head. So no matter who I work with, whether it's Apollo Brown, the other guys, Pete Rock, Illmatic, whoever, I'm doing the record and I'm like, yo, let's add some horn right here. Let me call Sean. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll send it to the producer with the trumpet added, and they be like, "Oh shit, okay." You know what I mean? Like, you know, records on this album. Let's take for instance, you know, on The Mind of a Saint, all the trumpet stuff was done after all the vocals and everything was laid, so that Sean could follow the tone of what I'm saying. Like, okay, this part I'm turning into this. This part I'm taking this type of feel. This part is getting a little dark. This part is getting a little aggressive. So you got to play the horn to match that. So all that's post-production. And I sent those records back to Joe with the horn on it. Like, yo, I had my man Sean play the trumpet. Boom. He's, yo, this shit is incredible, bro. You took it to another level. You know, like I bring the trumpet in it because I'm a trumpet guy. Like I love jazz. Miles Davis is, you know, my musical hero. I named my son Miles after Miles Davis, you know, so it's my musical hero. I'm gonna add trumpet on everything if I can, if it makes sense. I'm not gonna do it just to do it, but if it makes sense musically and sonically, I'm gonna do it.
So pretty much you're a rapper, a writer, and you're an executive producer, man. Because it sounds like you wear so many hats. Like you make executive decisions. Now, are you telling him exactly what to play? Like, are you like filling it out, or you let him do his thing and you chop it up, edit, put things where you want it? Like
Sean,
it's
a little bit of both. A lot of it, he'll just go. I'll tell him, yo, like I'll pretty much bring him in and I'll say, yo, just do what you want, go crazy, just go where you feel. Just make sure you use that harm and mute. I'm big on the harm and mute because that's Miles Davis, you know. So I'll be like, yo, bro, you on the way? Yeah, I'm coming now. Yo, you brought the harm and mute, right? You ain't leaving home? Nah, I got it. Cool. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes I'll tell him, yo, freestyle, do what you want. Sometimes I'll tell him, yo, do this. Yo, do that. Let's go. Blah, 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 blah. Like, I'll come up with I'll write the notes. You know, I may write the trumpet arrangement. You know, I may do that and say, yo, do it like this. Like, I may literally write the trumpet arrangement and then he follow it. You know, so it's 50-50.
That's fire, man. That's incredible. Now, with the Snowfall situation, how do you determine, because I'm pretty sure it's so many things to write about, how do you pinpoint the stories that you want to tell? And as far as your imagination goes, like pulling Nipsey and his dad into it, because obviously it's 2 separate entities. So how did that come together in your mind, like to bridge those 2 ideas?
Well, the first part, picking what parts of the story, you know, I wanted to capture everything in the story that impacted and mattered and created Franklin's world and mattered to him, whether it was in a positive way or something that rocked his world and tore him apart. This is him rhyming about his life, right? So for instance, there's not a lot of talk about the Villanuevas and Oso and Lucia and all of them. He didn't really know Lucia. He met Lucia once. You know what I mean? Like, how much can he say about her? So that's why there's not a lot of talk. I only mentioned her once, you know, when I said, but Oso was solid and we learned to be cool, but his bitch is the reason my 3 turned into 2. You know, as a viewer, we know everything about Lucia because we're watching it. If you're Franklin, huh?
I got you. I'm listening again.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it cut out. If you're Franklin, you don't know much about them. You only been around them once or twice. Whenever you around Oso was just delivery man. That's it. Until season 5, when they had that day together and they ran around and, you know, it got crazy with the tiger in the jungle and the hood, you know what I mean? But, you know, he know them, but he don't know them. So how much can he speak about them? So anybody else would have talked about, yeah, when Lucia shot her cousin and blah, 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 blah. But that's not sticking to the script because Franklin don't know all that. He never met her cousin, Pedro. Never met him. He never met the undercover who Pedro brought in and acted like that was his fiance. He never met her. He can't mention her. He can't mention them other CIA guy. He don't know them. He never mentioned them. So I can't talk about them. And if I do, I've failed as a writer. Everything is in the details. You know, going back to The Wire, even though there's a Snowfall thing, going back to The Wire, all the pieces matter, as The Wire would say. All the pieces matter. So there were so many things I could do as Franklin, and there were certain things I could not do as Franklin. You know, I couldn't talk about Wanda Bell but so much. He know Wanda, they grew up together, but there's a moment where he couldn't care less about her, right? Wanda brought a lot down in his world. Wanda brought Man Boy in the picture, you know what I mean? But that's a Leon story. If I was writing from the perspective of Leon, I could make whole songs about Wanda. I loved you and da-da-da-da-da, and this rock got to you, and I'm the one who brought you in the cookhouse with us. Couldn't do that as Franklin. Franklin don't have those feelings for her. You know what I mean? So there's so many details. That's why I said the album is so wild, because there's so many ways you have to look at it to appreciate it and be like, yo, this shit is different. This is art. This is museum art, because the details are so fine, but they're so important, you know? So stuff like that. And the Nipsey thing that you brought up, rest in peace, Nip, man. Of course, in my studio right here, I have framed stuff on the wall. I have all my plaques and my billboard and ghostwriting stuff and all stuff. Then I got art and all types of cool shit. And one of the things that I have framed is a copy of the Final Call newspaper that Nipsey was on the cover of when he died. Okay. And the letter in it, you know, from Minister Farrakhan, you know, Honorable Farrakhan, and I have all that framed, you know, on the wall. So I'm sitting here writing, and the beat is playing, and I look up, and I just see the Nipsey joint, and it's been here since he died, since, you know, 2-3 years ago. And I look up, and I'm like, man, okay, and it just hit me. I said, Nipsey is South Central, Franklin is South Central. I said, Nipsey was born in 85. And this point in the album is 1986. So Nipsey's about a year old. The reason Nipsey isn't here anymore is because the real life Franklins, not the character, but who the character represents, the real life Franklins turned Crenshaw and Slauson into what it is now, which is what took Nipsey. Nipsey didn't die in a car crash. Nipsey didn't die on a flight like Kobe. Nipsey didn't die from illness. He was gunned down in his own neighborhood. So the neighborhood that he was trying to build up is what tore him down. The reason why the neighborhood was able to tear him down is because it was turned into a certain thing. The real life Franklin turned that neighborhood into that certain thing, which then took Nipsey away. So let's have it where Franklin meets Nipsey as a baby and meets his family and his father and realizes, yo, what am I doing to this community? What am I doing to this neighborhood? I'm bugging. And then 30-something years later, yeah, you are bugging, because look what happened. It took a beautiful soul like Nipsey away from us.
Yeah.
So that was how that all came, just from looking up at his picture. And I was like, damn. And that picture's been sitting there, like I said, for 3 years now since he passed. And I was like, damn, that'd be a wild way to take this. It just hit me. I always say, man, I remember Jay-Z had a line, I think it was in the Black Album movie or something, where he said, sometimes, you leave the door cracked and let God in. Sometimes God is in every room we go in, but sometimes if you really be like, yeah, God was in the room on that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, with that idea, God was in the room. God was like, yo, here, take that. You know what I mean? Like, God was like, yo, here, Sky, hold that. You can have that. You know what I mean?
That's incredible, man. That's incredible.
For me, I wanted to bring Franklin into reality so that people could really see the depth and the importance of the show and the character and the story they're telling. I wanted to really hit home and bring that to life. So the easiest way to do that was to compare it to something real, something that people are attached to, something that makes sense. And it's one of those moments in the album where that didn't happen on the show, but it could have. Shit, it could happen next week when the shit starts. You know what I mean? Like, it could happen. It probably won't, but
it could.
It's something that if they did that in the story, it would make tons of sense.
Yeah. And
it would be like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, because the show is based on real life South Central LA. Yeah. And if you think about it, 86, Black Sam was about 4, Nip was about 1, and DeWitt is this young African man who moved his family to the neighborhood for a better life. And it turned out that neighborhood turned them out and turned his son's world upside down. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it, as opposed to glorifying it, right? Like I say all the time, a lot of people would have made this album, and it's something you pointed out when you did your video, which made me get with you. A lot of people would have made this album and had a field day. Like, yo, I'm making an album, I'm making a coke rap gangster album. I'm gonna go crazy. I can shoot everything up. I could sell all this weight. I could bang, 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 clap, clap. Yo, we got keys. Yo, listen, man, I got so much weight from Reed. I'm coming back for more. He just seen me and I'm back at his door. Like, I could go crazy. The average person would do something like that.
Yeah.
It's a get out of jail free card. It's man, I'm sitting here swimming in cake. I got keys on the rack. I got money on the shelf and that's the easy way to go out. For me, it was about telling a real story and using it almost as a cautionary tale. Most people would never have approached it from a purity. Apologies in order. Panthers and Powder. Panthers and Powder is another one where that didn't happen in the story, but in the story they make very clear usage of Franklin grew up as a Black Panther. He grew up in a Panther household. Alton was a Panther. Sissy was the wife of a Panther and played her part as a Panther wife and everything like that. They've highlighted that in certain moments. They even highlighted it with him learning how to cook, because he learned how to cook by stumbling across that fiend when he was in the old Panther headquarters of all places. He's in the old Panther headquarters and there's a fiend in there using that as a safe house when she cops and smokes. The irony in that, you know what I mean? And if he didn't go in there and be like, yo, I know this place. This place look familiar, man. This is the old headquarters I was in as a kid. He wouldn't have stumbled across the fiend who made him get with the wizard, helped him get with the wizard, showed him how to cook, and then goes. The irony of that juxtaposition and everything. So they've spotlighted that. But I was like, damn, what if we really dug into that? But they didn't dig into that. They dug into it, but not all the way like I did. So I had to create that, but I had to create it in a realistic way where, goddamn, this shit makes sense in the story. It makes so much sense on the show. Even though they didn't go this far with it in the show, it feels like they did because all the details are there. So now I'm talking about all power to the people. They flag on the spell, rest in peace to Bobby Hutton and all the legacies that wouldn't seem like I'm in touch with. So out the gate, what I'm saying is, like, when you look at me, Coke boy running around selling all this weight, 73 million, you wouldn't think that I'm aware of who a Bobby Hutton is and a Huey Newton and a Bobby Seale and a Fred Hampton. You wouldn't think that because I'm a drug dealer. Little do you know, I know all about the Panthers. Why? I got Panther in my blood. I'm a product of the Panthers. That's why I said, and all the legacies, it wouldn't seem like I'm in touch with the legacies of the Panthers, you know, the Prowl Underground, Prowl, like, you know, of course, you know, a Panther on the prowl, but then underground, like it was low, the Prowl Underground, you know, and it leaked out the discussion, callers, find the keepers, and to see how y'all adjust. And I was lucky where I never had to look far. It was like a lullaby before daddy took off. Like, it was kind of like a lullaby. Like, I heard this shit every day, like how your parents sing a lullaby to you to put you to sleep. I heard this shit every day as a kid before daddy took off, before he broke out and left home and left us for dead. And now it's me and mom, and he's a deadbeat dad. But before all that shit happened, this Panther shit was like a lullaby. You know what I mean? I heard it every day, every night. I heard the stories every night going to bed. You know, they never showed Alton put Franklin to bed talking about the Panthers, but of course he did, because they showed Franklin as a kid with his beret on, and Alton, stand up straight, son, put your head up, fix your jacket, fix your hat. So you saw how he was raising. So now I can say that in the song and it makes sense. I'm not going off the deep end. I'm staying right in the waters. You know what I mean? Like singing how we got the free Huey, we got the free Huey. That was one of the songs they were singing. That's why I used it at the end when it's going out. We got the free Huey. We got the free Huey. Like that was a real song they were singing how we got the free Huey, we got the free Huey, the vision bright enough where you could probably see it through me, with my fist up in the air, same shade as little Sambo. Reach for my umbrella, I was raised to let a cannon blow. Pancakes for everyone who need to get their plate filled. Pistols in the kitchen for whoever feel away still. So what I'm saying in that 4 bars right there, the story of Little Black Sambo, if people know it, Little Black Sambo was a children's fairy tale from back in the like 1930s, 40s. It's a little controversial. It's gotten a lot of slack over the years. I had the book as a kid. It's about this little super dark-skinned black boy in Africa. And his mother gets him new shoes, a new coat, new jacket. Excuse me. He's so excited to go outside with it. And he comes across these 3 tigers and they rob him for all of it all. They rob him for his jacket and everything like that. And one steals the hat. One steals the jacket. One steals the umbrella. One steals the shoes. They start fighting each other to get each other's goods from one another. They wind up killing each other. It's a children's story, so the story gets a little weird. Keep that in mind. They start killing each other and they turn into butter. They melt and turn into butter. Black Sambo takes the butter home to his mom's and she makes pancakes out of the butter, out of the tiger butter. So now, the way that works in the story of the rhyme, it's a children's story, so it's a little wild, but the way that works in the rhyme, with my fist up in the air, same shade as Little Sambo. The Little Black Sambo, if you know the book, you can Google image it, he was very dark. Yeah. Franklin is very dark. Fist up in the air, same shade as Little Sambo. Reach for my umbrella, like how Little Sambo had the umbrella. I was raised to let a cannon blow. Black Panthers was like, yo, we about guns. You know, we protect ours. I was raised to let a cannon blow. Pancakes for everyone who need to get their plate filled. So now we talking about the pancakes, like Little Black Sambo's story, but we also talking about the pancakes in the Black Panther free breakfast program that they did throughout the 60s and 70s. Pancakes for everyone who need to get their plate filled. Pistols in the kitchen for whoever feel away still. You know the story of the Black Panthers, they was in these community centers, sometimes they was in churches, all that, doing the free breakfast program. But in the community centers with the kids and all that, in the kitchen, they had all type of pistols, you know, just in case. Yeah. Charles Gain, who I talked about later, Charles Gain was one of the lead detectives in Oakland, whose MO and priority was to tear down the Black Panthers and bring them down. That's why I mentioned Charles Gain later on. Pistols in the kitchen for whoever. So it all comes together. Oh, wait a minute. The pancakes like Little Black Sambo, but the pancakes like the Panthers had, you know, in the free breakfast program. So there's your double entendre right there within 4 bars about comparing Little Black Sambo to Franklin and the Panthers and his world and all that stuff. So there's that, and it just continues to just go and go. It's a fucking snowball, bro. It starts.
Yeah, this is incredible right here, man. Like, fam.
Yeah, it starts as a snowflake and it turns into a fucking avalanche, man. You know what I mean? And so that's why when people talk about this album, if you're not talking, you know, excellent classic, I'm not the type of dude to break my arm, break my shoulder, pat myself on the back. But if you're not talking perfect, don't talk about it. There's too much on it for you to think otherwise. There is not a single blemish. There's not a hiccup on it. It's too much. So if you're not talking perfect, don't talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this ain't even an album that you can pretty much give a deep review on in 2 weeks. You get what I'm saying? Like you should still be sitting with this. As far as the decisions and choices you make, what role does being like an indie artist or not being signed to a major, what role does that play? Because you can pretty much talk about anything that you want.
Freedom.
Yeah.
That's the role, bro. Freedom. You know, I can say, man, I want to do this record called Panthers and Powder. You know what I mean? And talk about the Black Panthers and how Franklin was that, and then he turned into a dude selling all the white powder in the world. And the irony in that, and the yin and the yang of Black Panthers and white powder, you know, Panthers and Powder. And I want to end it with a skit from, I want to incorporate skits from the Black Panthers documentary, and I want to end it with them singing a song about Huey Newton when he was locked up. And like, I can do whatever I want.
That's freedom. That's amazing, yeah.
Freedom.
So what about the emotions that go into writing something like this, right? What's the different emotions with writing The Mind of a Saint as opposed to All the Brilliant Minds? One is about, obviously,
All the Brilliant Things, yeah.
All the Brilliant Things. Gentrification, and then you have on this album, per se, you're talking about one individual, but what's happening around him. People are being destroyed. So in two different ways, people who look like us are being affected. Like, so the emotions that go behind it, like, how do you deal with that?
One, I had to become him, you know, at least when I was creating. It's not like I was walking around my house being Franklin, you know what I mean? Like, my son don't care about none of that. My son want to go outside and play and wrestle and get on the swing set and watch Daniel Tiger. He don't care about none of this shit, you know what I mean? Like, my son is 5, you know? So but I had to become him when the speakers was on, for one. And for two, man, you know, the talk and the lingo, the numbers, the scales, the price points, talking about the coke rap, quote unquote, that stuff was easy because I wasn't in the game, but I grew up with enough people where it's second nature. You know, the analogy I use all the time is, you look at Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, been with him forever, 20 years or something, whatever it might be. He reps a lot of dudes in the NBA now, superpower agent. Rich Paul never put on a basketball jersey and played ball a day in his life. But you can't tell Rich Paul that he doesn't know basketball. He doesn't know, if he sees a kid on the playground, he can say, yo, that kid got it, let me get him. Or that kid could have it, but he got to work on his left a little more. Yo, that kid could have it, but he's too selfish, or he's too passive. But he knows basketball. He's around it every day. He didn't have to put on a jersey and get in the game. He didn't have to lace up his sneakers and get in the game. He was around it every day. How does he not know the game? So for me, I didn't have to put on a jersey. I didn't have to lace up my sneakers and get in the game. But if all of my friends is all-stars in the shit, all of my friends is ABCD camp kids, all of my friends is, you know what I mean? All of my friends is Lenny Cooks, and you know what I mean? Like, those types of guys in their world. And these are guys I'm with every day, splitting a hero with them. How do I not know it? How do I not understand it? If we on the bench chilling, talking about the new Nas album, or talking about, you know, Iverson the night before or whatever, and police run down on us, they don't care that I'm not wearing a jersey and they are. Everybody's going down. Everybody's leaving. Everybody's getting booked. You know what I mean? Like,
no doubt.
So I got to know the lingo just as if I was in it. Yo, Sky, you know, if these boys roll up, blah, 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 blah. Yup, already. I'm clean as a whistle, but I'm with them. These is my day ones. So if the boys roll up, I got to move accordingly. I can't be like, well, I can chill because I ain't doing it. Nah, I got to move accordingly because the boys don't care. So I say all that to say, I didn't have to put on a jersey to understand how the game is played. So now when I make the record, and I got to make the record about this stuff that no one ever heard me make a record about, even though the first song people ever heard me on, it wasn't my first song, but the first song people heard me on a national level was The Bodega. You know what I mean? I was talking about it from then. Standing out in front of the 2-4 with a bunch of walking pharmacies for you and yours. Right there, I just said it. I'm standing outside in front of the corner store with a bunch of walking pharmacies, with a bunch of guys who, they're like a walking pharmacy. They got so much things going on with them.
Yeah.
You know, pick up time, scuff Timbs with the kick up grind, playing scraps with jazz, come and pick up your dimes. This is everyday people like Arrested Development. The weight so lethal, you would swear it was heaven sent. But God don't bless this corner. We the bottom of the bucket. We lucky he protect this corner. When the stress build on us, it's all there. You know what I'm saying? Like duck behind the popcorn bags, ditch cops, hide behind the Cheerios. When the coast clear, we approach there. Like here we go. Like that was the first record people heard me on. Like yo, damn, who that kid? You know what I mean? So like the seeds were there. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you listen to music from my friends, you listen to a couple dollars on you know, the Easy Truth. The seeds were always there. This ain't some I'm gonna turn over a new leaf and do this. I've always just been talking about the shit I know and the world I know and the people around me. So now when I gotta become one of them, that shit is easy to do on a record. You know what I mean? Like that shit is easy.
Now, I know the relationships help a lot, but are you like an avid reader? Because just like getting out of different pockets, man. Sometimes when you have a talent, you don't realize how gifted you are. Like, because I think it comes so natural to you. Because most MCs can't do that. At least the ones that I like.
Agreed.
This is different, man. Like, this is
agreed. Totally agreed. Yeah, agreed, man. You know, I am an avid reader. You know, I was AP English. I talk about it a lot. I was AP English pretty much almost my whole life. You know, so all that's a blessing from God. You know, at that point, it's all a blessing. Like everybody has a gift. You have gifts. You got your show. You're breaking down lyrics. You're breaking down the music. Your gift is being able to analyze and decipher the music. And you may have other gifts as well. We all got gifts, and that's one of my gifts. That's probably my strongest gift, at least that I'm aware of. Until further notice, maybe God got something else playing. I don't know, but that's probably my strongest gift personally. You know, is being able to move the pen the way I move it, whether a beat is on or not, like we said earlier, you know. So for me, that part, man, it's all being a student of it, being an avid reader, going to the schools I went to, growing up the way I grew up. But it starts with it's a gift from God. And everything else was just, yo, here's the gift. All you got to do is add the right seasonings to it, and you won't blow this bag, B. You'll be able to be straight with it. You know what I mean? And that was all I did. And the right seasonings was the schools I went to, and the stuff I was exposed to as a kid. And that I got to give up to my parents, you know, the stuff I was exposed to as a kid. And, you know, I talk about it on Milestones, you know, like I was outside. My man is on the payphone. We 14 years old. My man is on the payphone calling his plug about how the work is awful. And I'm standing right there with him for moral support. Yo, Sky, you call me real quick, man. I gotta make a call, man. Fucking plug. My man 14, I'm 14. The plug is 20. So he need that moral support if he gonna call somebody who's an OG, even though he's 20. He need that moral support, you know. Yo, Sky, come real quick, make this call, man. Yeah, I'll walk with you. I'll walk with you to the payphone. So that's what I meant, moral support. This is on Eyes Wide Shut on Milestones.
That's my joint right there.
Yeah, so you know, I'm there for moral support. And you know, he talking to Duke about it, and then from there, you know, I zip up my Columbia jacket while my man is from Columbia, and it's like, yo, this shit ain't locking at all. Fuck it, I'm done with them. Contracts voided over payphones. I'm there for moral support, but need to make my way home. My pops got tickets for bringing the noise, bringing the funk, and BBQs after that. Yo, this shit is a jump. Oh, my man's in the front as we load up inside the Rover. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm with my man dealing with all that. I'm a bystander, moral support with him. We walk back to the block. Yo, I'll see you later. I gotta go in the house. I run in the house. I gotta get changed. We're supposed to go see Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk, Savion Glover and all that on Broadway. Now I come out the house, me, my parents, my little brother, we get in the car, you know, all my same friends is outside on the stoop or outside in front of the corner store, and I just left them. Now I'm getting in the car to go to Broadway and watch Broadway play and go to BBQs after that. That was my life. That was my world.
Balance and acts, man. That's balance, man, for real. That
was my world, you know? Yeah. And I didn't ask for that to be my world. That was just my world. That was literally my life. Like, I would go outside and it was, you know, weed spots and dice games and, you know, all types of regular. You know, I grew up a block away from Biggie. So everything you hear on Ready to Die was my neighborhood. That's the easiest way to explain it to people. Yeah, I grew up on St. James, a block away from Big. You know, I could walk the Big House in a minute and a half, if that. You know, and I had to walk by Big House every single day to go to school, to come home from school, to go to the store, to come home from the store. I had to walk by Big House every day. You know what I mean? Like, so that was my world outside. And then when I go inside the house, it's Ronnie Jordan, CD 101.9. It's Leroy Campbell paintings on the wall. You know, it's incense burning. It's dinner being cooked. That was inside the house. But then when I go back outside the house, I'm still with the wolves. So that's why the music sounds the way it sounds, man. I grew up in between two worlds, you know?
Man, I know that you are a huge fan of the culture. So if you were not an MC, what role would you play? Outside of being a fan, in hip hop, what would you be? Like, would you be a producer, a director? What other form would you, which lane would you use to share your artistic expression?
Some type of A&R. I like developing records, beats, like we spoke about earlier, how pick this sample, pick these drums. I don't know how to work an MP, a machine, an SP1200. I wish I did. I don't know how to work them. I need to learn it. I don't know if I have the patience. I have a machine right here that my man gave me. Shout out to my man Eeze, that he gave me. Same conversation, bro. Your ear is so crazy. You can have this. Your ear for beats and production is so wild. You can have this. I tried to make a beat once. I got a 4-bar loop done in about 2 hours. And I left it alone and went and got a Heineken and sat down. I said, I'm done. Like,
what's the biggest pitfall? The fact that you are like, you consider yourself to be a perfectionist?
Yeah. And just trying to learn it. I guess if I had somebody sitting with me, I could have got it. But going to YouTube and clicking back over and going, I was like, y'all, I got a 4-bar loop done on a sample. No drums, just the loop. And I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. I went and got a Heineken, turned on Nick Fan TV. I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah. Like, so, but you know, I probably would be some type of development guy, helping people create and craft albums, maybe finding artists, maybe having a label, you know, but really, like I have my label, I have FGR, but maybe like actively grabbing artists, because I could take an artist and I can help you make your album, B, straight up and down. You know what I mean? If I could pick these beats and sequence these records for me, I could do it for you. Like, I can help you make an album, B. I know how to put an album together. So it would be something like that.
So do you think you're gonna make that transition anytime soon, or you fully
maybe? You know, sometimes I hear artists that I'm really excited about. I just feel like if I do that, I want to be able to devote all the time and resources and finances into them that they deserve. Because I remember what it was like coming up and running with this person, running with that person, running with this manager, running with this production crew. And I'm just using examples. I'm not, you know, nobody in particular. But I remember all the little moments and being like, damn, man, why ain't enough focus on me? Or why this ain't happening fast enough? Whether I was ready or not, whether I understood it or not, whether I was even prepared or deserved it at that time or not. When you coming up and you got to go to work every day, or you outside, or you got this dream and you broke and your mother got 3 jobs and all that, you don't have time for, but it ain't your turn yet, but you still got to develop. You need that attention. You need them finances. You need all this energy and this light going to you so you can get out of your situation. So I'm never going to be the type to grab somebody and make them sit and wait. And if I can't, not even press the button, if I can't mash on the button like fucking Family Feud, if I can't mash on the button, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to really get in your way, because you could be doing something to bust a move and change your situation quicker than I possibly could do, you know? Yeah. So I know what it's like being an up and coming artist. I know those struggles better than anybody, you know?
So can you speak on that? Like being, because you're an indie artist, and based on like social media, you don't have like 10 million followers or things of that nature. Can you speak to like aspiring artists about forming relationships, and what are like the pros and cons to taking the avenue you decided to take? Because you have a strong following in the core fan base, and I'm pretty sure it's been very good to you and yours thus far. Absolutely. So what are the pros and cons to being an indie artist? Well,
the pros are, like you said, the freedom, being able to do whatever you want creatively, being able to move around the way you want, and kind of calling your own shots, running your own show. You know, the cons are, I'm doing very well musically. I'm doing very well career-wise. I own my house, 5-bedroom mini mansion, whatever, in the suburbs and all the stuff and whatever. And that's cool and it's beautiful and it's a blessing. I work really hard for all this stuff. You know, I don't have a job. I haven't had a job since 2006. I have a career. I haven't had to clock in and answer to a boss and wait for a 2-week paycheck since 2006. Super blessing. The thing about it, as far as the cons, when you look at, if you're on a major label, your album's about to roll out, the label makes a phone call to Jimmy Fallon. You're going to be on next week. Get ready. The label makes a phone call to MTV and goes, yo, we need a You Heard It First feature. And that happens. The label makes a call to The Breakfast Club. Yo, we need so-and-so on. Yeah, we make that happen this Friday. All you got to do is show up. When you're an indie artist, you got to push for those looks. You got to fight for those looks. You got to work for those looks. It is nowhere near as easy as, yo, call Fallon's people and hook that up. And that's how that happens when you're on a major. You'll call such and such an MTV, hook that up. You'll call such and such, get Ebro and them, hook that up. And that's how that happens. You know, those are some of the cons of, like, you have to know the workload and the uphill battle that you're in for. You know, you have to work 10 times harder for the possibility of those looks. You may not get those looks, but to even be considered, you have to work 10 times harder for the possibility of those looks, you know? Whereas if you're on a major, that happens. Yo, boom, boom, boom. All right, cool, we're going to get them. You know what I mean? That's done. Hooked up. Yeah. You get handed an itinerary with everything you got to do. Yo, you got to do Fallon tonight. Then tomorrow morning, don't go out too late because tomorrow morning you got to, you know, go do the Breakfast Club. Then we're going to fly you to LA. You're going to do Big Boy and Power 99. And then you're going to come out. You're going to go to Atlanta. You're going to do, then we're going to come back and we're going to put you in the studio with so-and-so. They're going to do the remix. You know, that it happens. It's handed to you. You know what I mean? Like, none of that shit is handed to you when you're indie. You got to go fight for it. You know, so that's the cons. But I tell people all the time, making it is, it's great. There's a lot of gray area to it because a lot of people feel like if they don't have Drake money and they not, you know, the biggest thing since Michael Jackson, they didn't make it. And all of that's a lie. That's bullshit. We all want Drake money. That's beautiful. 300 million, spend 10 million on jewelry, all that. That's great. Like, we all would like to, I wouldn't spend 10 million on jewelry, but the option to be able to do so is beautiful, right? Like, to be able to do all that. Just because you don't hit that doesn't mean you didn't make it. Bottom line, doesn't mean you didn't make it. You know, when you can provide for your family, not have to go to work ever again, do what you want to do as far as what you do for money, right? Like your career, whether you music, film, writing, art, fashion, whatever it may be, you know, podcast, whatever it is that you're doing. When this and your craft is what you're doing to take care of your life and you're successfully taking care of your life, you're not living off cereal and peanut butter and jelly. You're not ducking from your landlord, hoping he don't see you. No, you're living comfortably. You made it. If you can do all those things off of your craft, you made it. Then everything else on top of that is just a bonus. If you wind up getting Drake money, that's beautiful, man. Props to you. You know, that's beautiful. That's amazing. But if you can take care of your family, your immediate family in your house, not struggle, not starve, none of that stuff, off of your craft, and not have to go get a job or do something, you made it. You know, I took rap money, underground, quote unquote, backpack rap money, and opened a restaurant. No investors. I didn't call a bunch of famous friends and, yo, let me get $100,000. Yo, you want to come in and get a piece of this? Yo, you want to come in and get a percentage? I didn't do none of that. It's my bread. You know what I mean? Open my own restaurant. I'm the co-owner of a trading card company that's running around, and we was in Forbes. This is all off underground backpack rap, quote unquote, and some ghostwriting. Wow.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It's
commendable, man. You did things your way, man. You sleep good at night, man.
Absolutely. Right. And you know what I mean? Like, without a doubt. You know, you come to my house and we kick back and we hang out in the man cave. We record a little music. We go in the sports room and kick back and watch the game and play PS5. And we go in the backyard and smoke hookah and turn on the grill. And then we go outside and like, you know, and that's all of quote unquote backpack rap. you know, and I go to my restaurant that I own, and you know, and do, yeah, like, you know, and that's not a flex at all. That is a way to tell these up and comers who are doing it, you can do it on your terms.
Yeah,
you can do it on. You don't gotta feel like you gotta become the next 21 Savage or the next Lil Baby, who I'm a big fan of. I think Lil Baby is awesome. You know, but you know, you don't gotta aspire to be some of these guys that's on the radio 1,000 times a day and feel like you gotta quote unquote sell your soul. Yo, I gotta be the biggest thing. I gotta be, you know, I gotta win every BET award, and I'm a failure if I didn't. You're not a failure, man. They want you to believe that. You're not a failure. You're a failure if you didn't use your craft and your art and your God-given talent to better the world. That's when you're a failure. You know, you're not a failure because you didn't become the next Drake. Not at all. You know,
incredible, man, incredible. I noticed that you're big on family, right? You mentioned that you had a son, right? So I want to change up the pace a bit, right? I want to name some names, and we're going to pretend as if your son came to you asking you about these particular artists, and you're just going to explain to him who they are. So start with Prodigy or Mobb Deep. If your son came to you, asked you who Prodigy was, how would you explain?
Somebody who rhymed effortlessly, you know? And yo, Queens get the money, long time, no cash. Caught up in the hustle where the guns go blast. You know what I mean? A fool retaliate because he had to think fast. Pull out my heat first, he pull out his heat last. You know what I mean? Like, just effortless, you know? A technician with it. You know, that infamous album is top tier, man. Top tier. A to Z. The work he was doing on that album, you know, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, top tier, man. Somebody who rhymed effortlessly, man. Embodied what it meant to check off so many boxes as a great MC, a great New York MC, and a great MC, period.
Dilla.
You said Dilla?
Dilla, yeah.
Somebody who my son already knows. You know what I mean? The greatest of all time.
Okay.
Greatest of all time. Someone who could do any and everything at will. Somebody who, if there was somebody who I get inspiration from as far as my approach to my lyrics, the inspiration I get from him is not, I mean, Dilla was nice as an MC, no doubt, but getting inspiration from them as a producer in turn for my lyrics, it would be Dilla. Like, a lot of people say, yo, you rhyme like a Dilla beat. Like, you find the pocket in everything. You know what I mean? Like, you find the pocket and everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's real. Like, I do. I've heard you rhyme like a Dilla beat and you rhyme like a trumpet. And all of that's real. And it makes perfect sense because those are the things I love. And so it makes perfect sense if I listen to jazz all day long, that when I approach a rhyme, the scheme and the pattern of the pocket and flow is going to be like a trumpet. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I mean? Like, you know, dedicated to who you knew and all that he knew with you, and love and memory. Call us a living funeral. You know, you know what I mean? Like,
wow, that's,
you know,
crazy.
Like, who, you know, like it makes sense if I listen to jazz all day. Subconsciously, it's gonna seep in. You know, so back to it. I mean, Dilla, the greatest, without a doubt, the absolute greatest.
Bassist Ron Carter.
Oh my gosh, Ron Carter, man. The heavy hand of just like what he's able to do and make the bass talk. You know, the thing about the bass, speaking of Dilla and Pocket, the drum is like the drum is like the logo of Pocket, but then the bass is right there. You know, if the bass got swing to it, that's the Pocket. Pocket is really just a swing, you know, instead of it's and the bass is the bass is like one of the kings of the pocket as well. You know, the bass can dictate a lot in how dope a beat is, man. Like, you listen to, you know, what, Don't Sweat the Technique, you know, boom 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 boom. Like, that drag is the pocket, the drag is the swing, instead of boom 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 boom. Now it's boom 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 boom. Like, it holds on that last note, and right when it's almost too late, it comes back. Boom 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 boom, boom, boom. That's the swing that you love. And then when the sax come in, and then it just comes together. That's the swing. Like the bass is carrying that. And Ron Carter is a pocket swing master with the bass, you know?
Q-Tip.
Oh my gosh. Somebody I would love to do a fucking album with, man.
Oh, that would, man, that would be crazy.
If I did an album with Q-Tip, I can hang it up after that. You know what I mean? Like, underrated genius.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be an underrated genius when your genius is put on display so loudly and beautifully. But he's an underrated genius, man. We know him because of Tribe, and we know he did all the beats with Ali and all that and everything. But like, when you think about the stuff that he's done, you think about all the mob stuff and how he spearheaded the infamous album that we just spoke about, and you know what he did for that album, and whether producing it, whether just tightening up some drums, whether and you know, such an underrated genius while literally being known as a genius, if that makes sense. You know, so man, Q-Tip is just that guy, somebody who stood the test of time in his own way. He's transcended all these generations while not adapting to said generations. Yeah. You know? And
I agree with that.
He's incredible, man. When people talk about greatest producers in hip hop, he doesn't get named as much as he should because you know him of being the front man of Tribe and everything. But then when you think about it, you're like, oh, hell yeah, Q-Tip is one of the greatest ever if you had to name 10 people on a piece of paper. You know, so he's just, man, somebody I want to do a fucking album with. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that would be incredible, man. That would be dope. Maybe two more. Nas.
Oh, my gosh. The greatest hip-hop album of all time, Illmatic. You know, to me. I always tell people the analogy I give them is if you had aliens or something from another planet and they asked, what is this hip hop thing you guys keep talking about? You play Illmatic and then you go from there. You know, you play Illmatic. Greatest hip hop album ever, without a doubt.
Wow, that's high praise right there, man. He said you play Illmatic and you go from there. Wow. AZ.
Another underrated genius, somebody who got a record deal off a verse. You know what I mean? Like one verse, no demo, no nothing. One verse. Yo, get that kid, give him a deal, give him some money right now. You know, visualizing the realism of life in actuality. Fuck was the baddest, a person's status, depend on salary. And it just goes. And somebody who, man, they're like a beating Father Time as far as being fly. You know what I mean? Like AZ represents the OG Brooklyn hustlers that I grew up around. You know, I didn't grow up in the East. I grew up in the Style, Clinton Hills, and, you know, AZ was from the East, but like he represents the OG Brooklyn hustlers who always fly, never see them not fly, never see them not smelling good, never see them not pushing the right thing, but not fly in the sense of you think they something to play with. Fly in the sense of they fly and they get busy and they about it, and they definitely got the hammer under that AV leather. Like, that's the era I grew up in, and those are the guys I grew up around. You know, AV leather, white tee or low sweater, Jesus piece hanging, good jeans with a small slight cuff, butter Timbs, fresh cut. You know what I mean? Peace God. That's all I know. Like, that's home. That's my comfort zone. That's home to me. Like, when I'm around those type of individuals, I'm like, yo, where my red cup of Henny at? Past that. Like, that's home to me. You know what I mean? And AZ represents that flawlessly.
If you ever did a record with AZ, who would produce it?
Oh man, Pete, one of the greatest ever. We could sing about Pete praises all day. Pete, Diamond D, Buck Wild. You know what I mean? Or I give it to one of my new guys. J.R. Swift would kill that. You know, J.R. Swift's a New York guy. He would kill that. You know, so yeah, but he would kill that. You know, so but A is, man, he represents that. I don't think I ever seen someone without a haircut. You know what I mean?
That's real. Now that you mentioning this, yeah.
I think if you Google image AZ, there is not a single picture where he doesn't have a haircut. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane. Yeah, like son is like smooth groove, you know what I mean? But get right to it, you know? So is he represents that whole era, and that's my era. That's the era I know.
All right, man. That's crazy. Final question, man. What does Skyzoo see himself in the next 5 years?
Oh man, wow. The next 5 years. God willing, this TV and movie stuff is taking off. I really want to see that chapter be the next phase. You know, God willing, that'll be smooth. You know, in the next 5 years, I'll be 45. I would like to see that.
Well, man, I appreciate you, man, your time, man. I know you don't have to do this. That live show you gave was impeccable. And all the dudes out there who rhyme, I think they should take notice too. Have the professionalism. You went through the entire album, no stutters, no hype, man. Just focus. And as someone who paid to be there, a fan, like that was one of the best shows I've ever experienced, man.
Wow, thank you, man. That's so real, man. Thank you. And you know what's crazy? I didn't put this out there because I'm not the type of person to lean on reasons, and I don't believe in excuses and all that stuff, man. That whole show, I was dealing with a back injury. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have known that, man.
Exactly,
you was all over that stage.
I was dealing with a back injury, man. I injured my back at the restaurant, you know, running the restaurant and all that we talked about, and like a week or two prior, and it was really, really bad, man. Now I'm good, thank God. I'm back to normal, but at the time it was really bad, like, you know, meds and muscle relaxers, and it was going to chiropractors and physical therapists. It was really bad for a couple weeks, and it was right in the middle of when I got ready to do that show, and I was on one, but I had to thug it out. I had to push through, you know what I mean? So that was that was one of the nights where, like, I had to put, like, afterwards I was downstairs like, oh my God, my back is screaming, you know what I mean? But you know, if you never had a back injury, it's the worst pain you could ever feel, man. It is the worst pain in the world, B. So, you know, I was on that night, but like you said, you couldn't tell, and that's the goal, because at the end of the day, y'all didn't know that, and it's not for y'all to know that. Y'all paid your money to come out. So it's on me to give you that. And I ain't gonna lean here, yo, listen, man, yo, the show week tonight because I'm dealing with something. Nah, man, I can't do that, you know?
Yeah. And as a fan, we appreciate you, man. Once again, thank you for your time, man. Much success, man. I know this is the last go around for an album. The next one probably gonna be even 5 times better because you that guy, man.
That's the way it's supposed to be, baby.
Yeah. And once again, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on the Eeze Experience. You'll be well, my brother.
Peace. Thank you, brother. Peace and love.
Hey, yo, Eeze.